Imagine this. You're 13 years old. You sit at your desk, open a brand new computer. Your first project for God, your first mission, your first attempt to bring light into a dark world. You turn it on, and within days, it burns out. Smoke, sparks, gone. So you get another one, and that one burns. Then a third, a fourth, a fifth. 5 brand new computers, destroyed. Each one right when you're trying to do something holy. Most people would have stopped. Most people would have said, this must be a sign that it's not God's will. But Carlo Acutis was not most people. His mother, Antonia Salzano, later revealed something astonishing. While Carlo was cataloguing Eucharistic miracles from around the world, building the digital exhibition that would one day inspire millions, every time he made progress, the computer would die, literally catching fire inside the house. Not once, not twice, 5 times. And every time, instead of fear, instead of frustration, instead of giving any satisfaction to the forces of darkness, Carlo just laughed. He remained peaceful, serene, untouchable. He knew the truth. When you start a mission that heaven wants, hell reacts. The devil doesn't disturb what is mediocre. He disturbs what is dangerous to him. And nothing is more dangerous to hell than a young soul fully given to God, proclaiming the real presence of Christ in the Blessed Sacrament. Carlo understood something we often forget. Sometimes, when everything begins to go wrong, that's not a sign you should quit. It's confirmation that you must continue. Evil doesn't attack what doesn't matter. If the enemy is trying to stop you, it is because heaven wants you to go forward. And Carlo went forward, again and again. After every computer that burned, he simply started over. His mother even joked that he could laugh peacefully because he knew she would buy another one for him. But the deeper truth is this: Carlo's peace came from God, not from technology. He refused to let darkness disturb the mission that Jesus himself had placed in his hands. This mission, building the great digital archive of Eucharistic miracles, began when he was still a child, long before he had theological knowledge or adult formation. But Carlo didn't need advanced theology. He had something rarer, an unshakable love for Jesus in the Eucharist. He received his first communion at the age of 7, and from that day forward, his life revolved around one certainty: God is here. God is hidden in every Catholic church. God is waiting for us. Carlo would often say that the lines in the world were all in the wrong places. People waited for hours to see singers, football players, celebrities. They stood in the cold outside stadiums, slept in tents to buy tickets, screamed for people who would never know their names. But in every tabernacle on earth, someone infinitely greater was waiting. Silent, ignored, abandoned. And so he used to tell his parents, the lines should be in front of the churches. He believed that if people truly understood who was in the Eucharist, everything would change. Families would change. Nations would change. The world would change. Carlo's childhood was simple, quiet, and surprisingly normal. He wore jeans and sneakers. He played video games. He loved technology. But inside him lived a flame that burned with extraordinary purity. After his death, investigators examined his computer thoroughly. A modern teenager's computer, the very place where many young lives collapse morally. But on Carlo's hard drive, they found nothing. No impurity, no indecency, no darkness. This was a miracle in itself, not supernatural but moral, a sign of radical self-mastery. In a world where the internet pulls countless souls into vice, Carlo used it for God. He saw technology not as a temptation, but as a mission field. He believed the gospel must travel through every possible path, including screens. He used to tell his parish priest that every parish should have a website because every soul online deserved a chance to meet Christ. For this reason, many people today call him the patron of Catholic digital evangelization. But Carlo's holiness wasn't only behind a screen. It was lived in the small, hidden actions of every day. He prayed the rosary daily. He adored Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament for long, quiet hours. He attended daily Mass, even when it meant crossing the city by bike. He went to confession weekly, not because he lived in sin, but because he wanted his soul to remain clean for God. He believed strongly that the Eucharist was the fastest road to holiness. The Eucharist, he said, is my highway to heaven. He often explained it like this: you can reach a place through a slow, narrow road full of obstacles, or you can take a freeway, clear, fast, direct. For Carlo, the Eucharist was that freeway, the quickest, surest, most powerful path to becoming a saint. His relationship with the Virgin Mary was equally profound. Carlo used to say that Our Lady was the only woman in his life. He confided in her, trusted her, and let her guide his purity, his thoughts, his heart, his actions. She was not a distant spiritual figure for him. She was mother, counselor, protector. Carlo believed that every grace in his life came through her hands, and he prayed the rosary with a love that was almost childlike, yet incredibly strong. Carlo's charity was just as extraordinary as his devotion. Despite coming from a comfortable family, he lived with radical simplicity. He didn't cling to clothes, phones, or anything material. More than once, he left home wearing shoes and returned without them, because he had given them to a homeless man on the street. He gave away toys, clothes, money, anything he could. If his mother bought him something, he often handed it to someone poor before he even reached home. He admired St. Francis of Assisi deeply and tried to imitate his love for the poor. Carlo believed that charity wasn't optional for a Christian. If you truly loved Jesus, you would naturally love the people Jesus loved. His kindness extended beyond the poor. At home, the family had a cleaning assistant from India. The man was a Hindu, unfamiliar with Christianity. But living day after day beside Carlo, watching how he prayed, how he loved God, how he lived purity and charity, the man felt drawn to something he couldn't explain. Eventually, because of Carlo's witness, he asked to be baptized. Carlo brought souls to Christ, not through arguments or debates, but through the simple radiance of his holiness. Then suddenly, at 15, Carlo's life took a dramatic turn. He was struck by a violent, aggressive leukemia. The disease spread quickly. His health collapsed. But Carlo's spirit did not. He accepted his suffering with astonishing peace. He offered it as a sacrifice, for Jesus, for the Pope, and for the Church. When he entered the hospital, he said calmly, "I won't leave this place alive." Somehow, he knew. But there was no fear, no despair. In fact, before ever becoming sick, Carlo had recorded a short video on his phone in which he said, almost casually, "This Christmas, I will die. Bye. I am destined to die." It sounds shocking, but for Carlo, death was not an end. It was the beginning of the life he had always longed for. He knew where he was going. He had prepared every day for that moment. Carlo died with the serenity of a saint. He told his mother, "I die happy because I lived my life without wasting even a minute on things that do not please God." His body was laid to rest in Assisi, dressed in the simple clothes he wore every day, jeans and Nikes. Today he lies incorrupt, a silent testimony that holiness is not an impossible dream, but a real, living possibility, even for teenagers, even in the digital age, even in a world filled with noise and temptation. Carlo Acutis spent his life proving that sanctity is not about extraordinary visions or mystical experiences. It is about loving God with a pure heart, serving Him faithfully, and persevering when darkness tries to stop you. When 5 computers burst into flames, Carlo didn't give up. He smiled and kept going. When temptations surrounded him online, he turned the internet into a cathedral. When suffering struck him with overwhelming force, he transformed pain into love. He lived simply, prayed deeply, loved generously, worked tirelessly, and died peacefully. His message to the world is simple and unforgettable. You can be a saint right where you are. Holiness is not far away. Holiness is not for the few. Holiness is for those who choose it, those who persevere when everything goes wrong, those who refuse to give darkness the satisfaction of victory, those who continue smiling as they walk the path God has placed before them. Carlo Acutis walked that path with courage, purity, and joy until the very end. And now, he walks with God forever. If this story touched you, if the life of Carlo Acutis awakened something inside you, a desire for purity, for perseverance, for a deeper love of the Eucharist, then don't let it stop with you. Someone you know needs to hear this. Someone in your family, one of your friends, someone who is struggling, someone who has lost faith, someone who thinks holiness is impossible in the modern world. They need this light. Share this video with them. Share the story of this young saint who turned computers into instruments of grace and transformed suffering into love. And if you want more stories like this, stories of faith, sacrifice, beauty, and the hidden miracles of heaven, then make sure to subscribe. Your support helps this channel continue telling the kind of stories that the world is forgetting. But heaven never forgets. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.